Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It's a little cold out here. I think it's about 15, maybe 16 degrees. And as you can see, some of this white stuff fell, roughly an inch and a quarter. Not too much. It'll probably be mostly gone by tomorrow. It's kind of how things go around here, but it's certainly cold today, and the wind chill, it just cut you in half. And I think we're supposed to be somewhere around 5 or 6 degrees tonight with a wind chill, I'm sure below in the negatives, I'd say. But anyways, just thought I'd take you out here. This is one of the old parts, older woods that we have. This part of the woods hasn't been logged or cut out of in a long time, and it's starting to show. As you can see, there's several downed trees, older trees and stuff. So this is gonna be one of my chores this year, I think, of getting in here and trying to get some of these deadfalls. These are a little bit more dangerous. There's another one in front of me, behind you. But there's a lot of stuff on the ground, and I'm seeing a few trees that they just need to come down, which is firewood for us. But I knew that this back area, this is like the furthest spot from the house, furthest point from where we live. So I don't come back up here too often. But anyways, I just thought I'd bring you along. Not what I wanted to talk about though. You know, if you watched the video yesterday, and if you haven't, you should go back and watch yesterday's video. It wasn't a hype it up video. It's seriously talking about all the stuff that's going on and the language that's being used when referring to people like myself and most of you. That's very much heading us down that path of genocide, where we demonize a certain segment of society, and it leads us to a place to where physical actions can be taken against them, and the populace and the government will justify it. And I don't think I have to go into any more detail than that for it to click of what I'm talking about. Wanted to talk about a couple of things. These are two incidences that's happened recently, and I'm going to tie it in to that and to prepping and several. So just kind of bear with me, because sometimes that's just how my mind goes. It's just all over the place. I'm going to try to pull it all together and explain it to you in one video. So recently here in the States, we had the snowstorm. It was on the news just a few days ago. In Virginia, they're on that I-95 interstate, where the weather and the snow got so bad that they just shut down traffic. And I think some of the people, they were saying that were stuck in their cars for like 19 hours in the cold and the snow. People didn't have food, water. They were running out of gas and diesel, just sitting there idling, trying to keep warm. And of course, some people have tried to politicize that, and that's not what I'm going to get into. Well, what I'm saying is, from that is an excellent prepping learning experience. I mean, obviously, if you experienced it, you're certainly going to learn a lesson. But even for those of us on the outside watching of what happened, I mean, that's an excellent scenario for us to learn from. They're stuck in the weather and the snow. What if it was an evacuation? Something like that could have happened for some sort of evacuation, whether it be, a weather-related evacuation, or, a biological, chemical, nuclear, whatever. There's all kinds of evacuations that someone could go through. They were evacuating people just a couple of weeks ago up there in Colorado because of the wildfires. I'm sure a lot of those people now that went through that, survived, are saying, you know what, from now on, I'm going to have some stuff with me in my vehicle in case that ever happens again. And the vast majority of them, it will never happen again to them. Never. Most of those people that were stuck, out there on I-95 in the snow, that's never going to happen to them again. But I bet you a lot of them will have some kind of little box or little bag in the back of their car for the just what ifs. And that's what it takes when it comes to prepping. It only takes one time for it to be serious enough that you should have done it, that you should have prepared. One time is all it takes for you to die of, exposure to the weather, die from injury, of attack, for you to, for whatever reason, become injured because of a whatever situation. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And so that whole being stuck on the interstate in the cold is a perfect example of why you should prepare. You should have some sort of like get home bag, vehicle bag. I mean, there's all these YouTube channels, they call them different things. I don't really care what you call them. Just some kind of bag with stuff in it, right? Stuff in it for that kind of scenario. Maybe some emergency blankets, socks, gloves, some food, some bottled water, maybe even a way to provide some heat for you. You should have something like that. If it's in your vehicle, you usually have a little space, maybe have some blankets there. I always like the old military wool blankets. They're just tough and dingy and all that kind of stuff, but they work. Have a few of those in the back, some bottled water, maybe a little emergency food or something like that, so that you can, keep your energy levels up. It's easier to stay warm if you're taking in calories to keep your energy up. There's all kinds of things that you could have. But again, this isn't the point of today's video. I'm leading into something, so stick with me. Now, let's go over to the other part of the other side of the planet, basically, over in Kazakhstan or however it's pronounced. That little country kind of south of Russia that used to kind of be part of Russia. As most of you know, it's chaotic over there. I mean, it's absolutely chaotic. There's way more than anything chaotic here. I mean, today they're honoring this insurrection that happened here in the United States. It should be called Freedom Day, at least to some extent. And they make out like it was the worst event that ever happened in the United States. At least that's what the vice president said. But what's going on over there is pretty bad. I mean, they're burning buildings, government buildings, parliament buildings. They're torching, government vehicles, military and police vehicles. They've seized firearms, and there's been firefights. There's been people killed. There's been military and police personnel shot and killed in this kind of rebellion that's going on over there. I mean, it's escalated quickly, and it's pretty chaotic. You can get online and kind of see some of the videos out there. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of information because they've had pretty much an internet and media blackout over there. So mostly what has gotten out to us here in the States has just been things that's been leaked. A scenario like that, it's a good scenario to kind of have some supplies of some sort, a way to defend yourself. I don't even know what their gun laws are over there, so I didn't even take the time to look as if those people can even own a firearm or not. A lot of those European countries, they can't, but I don't know about that one. I'm sure someone can answer it in the comments below. But having just supplies of food, maybe a dugout bag, get home bag, never coming home bag, something bag, makeup bag, whatever you want to call it. With just some easy access gear in case of an immediate quick emergency. That kind of stuff starts coming down your street. What are you going to do? Do you have a plan for that? You may have long-term plans for grid down and dollar crashing and all that kind of stuff. But do you have a plan for if something comes upon you in a very quick an immediate pace? You're in your home and you start hearing gunshots and you look outside and there's these rioters and looters, or there's some kind of rebellious act, and it's standoff between police and whoever they are, and it's moving, and it's bullets are flying and things are getting caught on fire and fighting, and it's moving your direction. Do you have a plan in place of what to do in that? And a lot of you probably live out like I do, or at least some do. And you think, man, would that ever happen here? Maybe not that way, but things could certainly happen. Just because you live out in the boonies doesn't mean that kind of stuff is never going to come to you. So part one of this video is, these are some recent things that's happened that back up this what we talk about of being prepared, why you should do it. These are excellent learning scenarios, just like we've talked about on this channel numerous times of what's gone on in Venezuela is an excellent learning experience for us of how it could all play out, and then what it's going to be like when that happens, of their economy crashing and their currency crashing and hyperinflating. So this also is a learning experience. So take note of these kind of events that happen around the world and learn from them. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and let's focus on the stuff going on in Kazakhstan or whatever. That all happened, at least from what I'm aware of, because people were sick and tired of high fuel prices. They were jacking the fuel prices up, shortages and inflation and all these other things going on. And they, were raising the, fuel prices, and people got upset and they went out in the streets and they protested. And then the protests turned into riots. And then the riots now have turned into pretty much an all-out revolution is what it looks like. I heard this morning that their entire government has resigned because of this. They have, whoever their prime minister or president or whatever he's called, has put out requests from the global community in the area. Russia is sending in peacekeeping troops, as well as I think a few other countries. Could this happen in the United States? Could this happen right here where we live? Something that we've seen on TV and movies and we've watched on the news in other countries, but could it ever happen here? I believe it could. And I believe the things that are happening right now, this divide that has been, there's always been division in politics in the United States, at least in my lifetime. It's gotten worse, but there's always been a level of division. I have never, though, seen blatant division, purposeful division, what we're seeing today. If you don't believe me, watch the Attorney General's little speech yesterday, and then watch Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's speech this morning, January 6th, and just listen to the things that they say and the terminology that they use. They are trying to drive a wedge, just like they are trying to drive a wedge when it comes to the thing. And when that starts happening, when it starts happening in the media, when it starts happening within leadership, and it starts happening where the people themselves are kind of falling in line, the indoctrination, the brainwashing, the hypnosis, the psychosis, whatever words you want to use, where it's actually starting to work, things like this could happen. You could see one side or the other rising up in protest, rising up to riot, rising up in anger, in desperation. And you could see that shot heard around the world. It's a very thin line that gets crossed when these things go from somewhat of a civil riot to being an all-out revolution and open violence. And I believe that it could very well happen here in the United States. And so this is also something that we should be prepared for. Also something to learn a lesson from. If you noticed how quickly they have been bringing in international teams to stop this, This isn't, it's not like it used to be in history where people could actually rise up and rebel against their governments. And if they did it right and have a revolution, they could win in the end, and they could kind of turn things around, and you could see a very immediate change of maybe some kind of dictatorship or totalitarian regime getting put down, and then the country now under the hands of the people. That's never going to really happen again. We live in such an international global world that as soon as it starts to happen, we see global forces come in and put it down. That's what we would see here in the United States. We hear a lot of talk about, well, there's so many gun owners and people are going to stand up. Maybe it'll work. Maybe if it ever did happen, if it ever came to that time to refresh the tree of liberty, how long would it last before Chinese forces and Russian forces and German forces and United Kingdom forces and so on and so off were marching in the streets of America to stop it? I think what we're seeing with all these things, we are seeing this divide, not just here in the United States. I mean, we focus on that because most of you live here, but it's happening all over the world, where there's this very focused and very organized effort to divide the people of the world into the ones that are complicit and complacent and submissive, and the ones that want independence and liberty and to take care of themselves and don't want to just bow down to the leadership. And as this globalist movement continues forward, this reset of our world and our society, we're going to see this more and more. And we're going to see these kind of actions where people are just fed up. They've been pushed into a corner, because that's exactly what it feels like with most of us right now. We feel like that we have been shoved into a corner and there's no way out. And in our minds, we're telling ourselves, we're almost at that point where there's nothing else left for me to do than move forward, to push forward, to fight forward. And I think that's what they want. I think that's what they're trying to do. And we are constantly seeing this divide. What's the answer? I'm sorry to tell you, I don't have a specific answer. I mean, we're not quite at that point yet. And I'm not the kind of person to back down. I am not the kind of person to give up. I am stubborn to my core. Ask my wife, she'll tell you. So I can't imagine when I get to that point, I'm going to be the kind of person that backs down. That's what they're hoping for, or they're hoping for an unorganized movement that they can easily put down. But I'm telling you, folks, I feel more and more all the stuff that's happening on a political level in the United States and around the world is an organized effort to divide people, to separate us so that they can single out the group that they want to get rid of. This is very classic and very much in line with what I'd mentioned yesterday with the 10 steps of genocide. Maybe at some point I'll get into the reasons of why I think they're doing this. That will probably be a Patreon video. But either way, folks, you have to get prepared. I don't see that there's any other way for you to do that. If you have any concern for your life and for your loved ones, the only way that you can really have a chance, an opportunity to make it through all of this is to prepare yourselves, to make your connections with others, to get yourself in a situation, in a place where you can defend yourself and can take care of yourself without any, or at least very little, outside help. This is what real preparedness is. The things that we are seeing in this world, we're seeing it in other places. It's going to eventually come to us. It's worsening by the minute. Every day we see more and more, and we're seeing it happen all around us. And if you think for a minute that those things aren't going to come to America because we have this Constitution, well, they've already told us, every president practically, going back for the last couple of decades, what they think about that sacred document that is that barrier between us and an overreaching government. They don't care about it, and they're going to do everything they can to stomp all over it so that they can have their way and then they can see their plan succeed. So folks, get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually, because what else are you going to do? Lie down, lick the hands that feed you, and pray that posterity, goes easy on you? Yeah, I know I butchered the whole quote. It's a Samuel Adams quote. Most of you know that. Folks, seriousness though. I think that that's what we're seeing happen all around us. So get yourselves prepared. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.